Alright, tomorrow is finally media day. The Lakers will be back on the court and giving us a preview of what they might look like. No, unfortunately not practicing yet. That will come on Tuesday with the opening of training camp, but they will be wearing their purple and gold, or maybe their gold and yellow, giving us a hint and preview of what they'll look like, talking about what they have been working on throughout the summer, how their individual workouts have been going, and talking about many of the things that both JJ Redick and Rob Pelinka talked about during their introductory press conference. So with that in mind, we're going to preview training camp, talk about the biggest storylines to be had and to talk about entering training camp, talk about individuals, the entire team, and much more. So we're going to talk about that and go through 5 storylines during today's video. And well, to begin, I think it's only right to talk about the new additions. That was probably one of, if not the biggest talking point from Rob Pelinka and JJ Redick during their press conference, talking about Marcus Smart, DeAndre Ayton, those two more than anyone, but also Jake LaRavia and Lakers rookie Adou Thiero. And well, if you're talking about their new additions, I think it's only right to start with DeAndre Ayton, the guy that's likely to take on the biggest role of their new additions, likely to enter their starting lineup and replace Hayes within it, likely to play 28 to maybe 32 minutes per game for their team, if he can be committed and get back to the version of himself that he once was. Back with the Phoenix Suns, for example, the early days they played with them, not his final year and not the past 2 years with Portland. Get back to the committed, two-way player that can make an impact on both ends of the court. That's the version they need of him, and that's the version that he's striving to bring back too. I mean, I think he definitely has motivation to do it, not only to prove the narratives wrong and be a valuable piece for their team, which could potentially be a championship team if himself and their new additions really bring what they want and what the team needs, but the fact that he's entering a contract year too. I think that's plenty of motivation for him, not only kind of getting back to that level, but definitely something that he doesn't want to have to do for very long here. After all, he took a contract buyout and took a pay cut to go to their team of his $35 million salary that he was owed, now getting an $8 million salary to play with their team, and that's something that he does want to continually do long term. He does have a player option for next season, but I imagine that he wants to get back to a $30 to $35 million per year kind of contract if he can, at least above $20 million, and kind of shooting for that range again, getting at least one big contract left in his NBA career. And that's what he's striving to prove, that he can get back to that value, get back to that level of impact, and he's kind of showed early and often here too, even at the beginning of training camp. If JJ Redick is going to trust him and fully believe in him to finish games for their team, then he's kind of proved it early and often. Not only offensively, not only being a lob threat and great pick and roll partner for Luka Doncic and LeBron, but defensively, maybe to be a defensive anchor-ish. You know, I'm not going to expect him to be a dominant force in the middle for them, not going to expect him to block 2 shots per game and be a top 10 defensive player of the year candidate, but I'm expecting him to be a positive impact player for them on defense. That's something that JJ Redick is definitely looking for, definitely something that their team is relying on and really needs from him. That's what I'm expecting here in their early outlook here for DeAndre Ayton. Commitment, defense, and really the full energized force of DeAndre Ayton on the court for their team in the middle. But then for Marcus Smart, I think this one's a bit easier. I mean, I think they know what they're going to get from Marcus Smart, if he's healthy anyway. That's something to really watch with him after 2 injury-prone years in a row here, not hitting the 40-game mark in either year. You know, even Redick talked about it, their medical staff working with Marcus Smart to get him back to what he once was and the version of himself that he wants to get back to. I think that's probably the biggest and main thing to watch with him. Is he healthy? Is he the former version of himself that can be a defensive player of the year level player? Even apart from that, potentially a 3-and-D or two-way player for them. That's kind of the early outlook here with Marcus Smart. As I'm never going to question his commitment, never going to question his ability to make an impact on defense, never going to question his leadership or vocalness on the court. That's pretty much all a given here with Marcus Smart. The only question being his durability and health at this point. But after Marcus Smart for Jake LaRavia here, definitely more of a question and kind of a open range of opportunity with Jake LaRavia. I mean, he could be an 8th or 7th man in the rotation. He could maybe climb his way up to being a 6th man in the rotation. He could maybe break out and eventually crack their starting lineup. I don't really expect that throughout training camp, but definitely has a wide range of opportunity. Only 23 years old yet, and definitely does have untapped potential. And depending on how quickly he unlocks it and how quickly he can gain the trust from JJ Redick, that will help him get that opportunity too. So definitely watching that here with Jake LaRavia. Can he maintain his 3-point shooting from last year? Can he be consistent on defense and show that throughout training camp? That's something that I'm watching for. something that Redick is watching for and really expecting from Jake LaRavia, as they don't have another big 3-and-D option in their rotation, or even a guy that can really realistically get to that point. That's what he's hoping for here with Jake LaRavia. Then finally for Lakers rookie Adou Thiero, not a ton of expectations with him quite yet. I'd love for him to simply make an impact on defense and maybe be an injury replacement for if Jared Vanderbilt gets hurt, if somebody's simply resting, or whatever it might be here and there, maybe a situational kind of matchup. If he can do that, and if he can show that he can be trusted by JJ Redick, if he can be a bit better than we think on offense, and maybe if he improved his 3-point shot a bit, that's something to watch here with Adou Thiero, but there's definitely not much pressure on him quite yet. Overall though, I think that will be storyline number 1 to follow. Simply their new additions and the early impact they make, or potentially will be able to make or not make. That's kind of what I'd look to follow here with them. But then for storyline number 2, I would kind of point to who might be the odd man out within the rotation. After all, JJ Redick does run a pretty tight rotation that can tend to switch up every now and again. Will it be a 10-man rotation? Will it be a 9-man rotation? Even as small as an 8-man rotation? If that would come to it, then there might be multiple players out, but early speculation is that he will run a 10-man rotation for more of an early evaluation and to give a few more guys an early opportunity. That probably is the early plan for him. Though even with a 10-man rotation that will leave a couple of guys out, might be a guy like Dalton Knecht, might be a guy like Maxi Kleber, might even be a guy like Gabe Vincent. And between the 3 of them, they might be fighting for that 10th spot, at least more of a regular spot within the rotation. Again, matchup dependent, they might get an opportunity here and there, but if they're trying to be in the every game rotation, that might be the last spot up for grabs here. So what it will come down to is who can be the most reliable option, who can impress JJ Redick the most throughout training camp, and who can be the best version of a two-way player for them, something that Redick has really hinted at and definitely wants more of on their team. So between the 3 of them, it definitely could be an open battle and open competition. I think that Gabe Vincent might be the safest option, is the best version of a reliable two-way option. No, he's not incredible offensively or defensively, but he is average to above average in both areas, shooting 35.3% from 3 last season, playing average to above average defense throughout the entire regular season, being a solid point of attack defender, a pretty solid defensive playmaker, and simply a decent off-ball player in general. I think he'd probably be the best bet to get that 10th spot, be the last regular player in the rotation, but there definitely is upside and definitely opportunity for both Dalton Knecht and Maxi Kleber here too. Definitely calling Maxi Kleber the dark horse and kind of the wild card for it. I think many have understandably forgotten about him and really haven't thought much of him. After all, he didn't play a regular season game or minute for their team last season, despite coming over with the trade for Luka Doncic, playing 5 minutes during the postseason in their elimination Game 5 game, but he doesn't really have much to show for it in a Laker jersey quite yet, has been hurt regularly throughout the past 3 years now, so can he get back to being a healthy, reliable option and potentially a rotation option? Maybe. And the pathway for him is definitely what he can offer that other guys can't offer in their front court. Both a guy that can play at the 5 for them, offensively, defensively, offer some rim protection, some switchability and versatility on defense, then with a 3-point shot too. If he can show that throughout training camp, and if he can prove that he is the guy that can do what other guys can't, then there might be a viable pathway for him to get that final spot. Though in my opinion, he's probably more of a matchup option and matchup dependent guy for them. Then for Dalton Knecht, definitely has the highest upside here, but probably the lowest floor. I mean, not really being a reliable option, especially not defensively, but can absolutely shoot the lights out and even dropped a few 30-point games last season, was one of, if not their best 3-point shooter for a short time, even starting in 16 games for their team, in which he averaged nearly 17 points per game. It's definitely a toss-up here, and if you don't have Dalton Knecht in your rotation, you might feel weird about it, but if you're trying to make the most reliable rotation, the best option for a championship contender that has two-way options and guys that can be relied on every game, then he might unfortunately be out of the rotation, at least in the early portion of the regular season. Though then again, there was some optimism expressed regarding Dalton Knecht directly from JJ Redick, saying that Dalton Knecht simply overworked himself and that he didn't look right throughout Summer League because of it, and that he's confident in Knecht getting back to where he once was. And here's what Redick had to say about it.
Jay, Dalton is a guy that you guys were really high on when you drafted him. Admittedly, a weird end to last season, weird Summer League. What have your conversations been like with him this offseason, or what have you seen from him in the gym that makes you confident that he could get back to the guy he was at the beginning of last season?
Dalton's in a really good spot right now. I've had a number of conversations with him throughout the summer. They've all been very positive. I really believe this. The guy did too much after the season. And I think in summer league he was burnt out. He was coming in here at 5 a.m., getting shots up, then doing 2 workouts with our summer league staff and in the weight room. We had our last conditioning run of the preseason today, and he beat everybody by a long way. He's in phenomenal shape. He's in a great spot mentally. He's played well throughout September.
And well, I definitely think that'll be an interesting storyline to watch play out. Will it be Dalton Knecht? Will it be Maxi Kleber? Or will it be Gabe Vincent to capture that final rotation spot? I guess we'll find out. Though apart from the final rotation spot and not only both the rotation, but their starting lineup, I think this will be another storyline to watch play out. Who will be the final or maybe final 2 guys in there, apart from Luka Doncic, LeBron, and DeAndre Ayton, the 3 of which I think are guaranteed in my opinion. I think that Austin Reeves is pretty close to a guarantee for that 4th spot. Whether you want to argue fit or not, I think by status, the production, and how much belief he has from JJ Redick, and then I guess the fact that he's entering a contract year, I think that he's pretty much a guarantee to get that 4th spot. Though I think that Rui Hachimura is not guaranteed to do it, from the fit, from kind of the situation their defense is in, and the balance of their overall rotation, I think there will be a fight for that 5th spot in their starting lineup. And while I'm not expecting it to change during training camp, I think the seed may be planted for it to change throughout training camp. If JJ Redick sees something from maybe a Marcus Smart, maybe a Jake LaRavia, maybe a Jared Vanderbilt, then he might get the early idea to eventually change it if the starting lineup doesn't give him what he wants and what their team needs, and to balance out the rotation too. I personally think they will begin the year with Luka Doncic, LeBron James, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, and DeAndre Ayton. Though within 5 to 10 games, and this would be what they did last season, it took them 8 games to go to a different starting lineup. If it's not working in that time frame, and if Redick thinks they need a change, I think that he will look to make one with one of those 3 options. Again, either Jake LaRavia, Marcus Smart, and or Jared Vanderbilt, with both Marcus Smart and Vanderbilt being the early favorites in my opinion. If Hachimura isn't giving them what they need, if their defense simply isn't working and they can't show improvement with that 5-man opening lineup, then I think he will look to insert either Jared Vanderbilt or Marcus Smart for a boost on defense. After all, I don't think anyone's worried about their offense. With Luka Doncic, with LeBron James, with likely DeAndre Ayton and Austin Reeves, they have plenty of offense, plenty of playmaking, plenty of 3-point shooting, plenty of creation, and even a lob threat, but they don't have much defense. So if it comes down to it, and if they can't show improvement on defense, then I think Marcus Smart or Jared Vanderbilt will eventually crawl into that, which again, might kind of be planted throughout training camp. But then for a 4th storyline to follow, I'd simply point to their health and durability at this point. I mean, to my knowledge, and from what JJ Redick talked about, at least given that he's not lying to cover something up, their entire team is healthy entering training camp. Again, believe it or not, their entire team appears to be healthy entering training camp. Really the first time in recent memory I can actually remember that happening. I mean, last year for example, Jared Vanderbilt was hurt. The year prior to that, Gabe Vincent really got hurt right away. Prior to that, Dennis Schroeder got hurt. Even going earlier before that point, many and many more guys got hurt either during training camp, before training camp in an off-season workout, or were recovering from an injury from the prior year. But apparently that's not the case this year. Their entire team is healthy or pretty damn close to it, entering training camp, and that is a great opportunity for their team. I mean, unlimited options within the rotation, guys can be shuffled around because they're healthy and not working through an injury or trying to work their way back from it. That gives JJ Redick a ton of options and a ton of viability to choose from too. However, looking at their injury history, I definitely am a bit weary about them. I mean, last season alone, all 4 of Jared Vanderbilt, Marcus Smart, Maxi Kleber, and DeAndre Ayton failed to hit the 45-game mark. In fact, all 4 of them did not hit the 100-game mark in the past 2 years combined now. So they gotta stay healthy, gotta be reliable options both off the court and on the court for their team, gotta be able to stay on the court to actually give them production, and that's definitely something to follow throughout training camp. Yes, they're entering it healthy, but can they remain healthy? Not only throughout training camp, but then preseason, going into the regular season. Can they remain healthy and prove their recent injury history wrong? I'm definitely hoping so, but it is something to watch and follow here. But then for a fifth and final storyline to follow, I'd simply point to their vacant two-way contract. And yes, they do have a vacant 15-man roster spot, but they currently cannot fill it. Due to being too close to the first apron, they can't fill it until roughly January at this point. So the final player they can sign is a two-way contract player. And pointing to their training camp roster with the guys that are signed to training camp deals, potentially a guy like RJ Davis, Augustas Marciulionis, maybe a Kyler Kelly, or Eric Dixon. The fifth one kind of shuffling between a few different guys in the past 5 days now, so not even sure I want to mention a name quite yet. But between those four, can they win the two-way contract? Can one stand out from the others and potentially get the two-way contract? I'm hoping it's from their team instead of a different team. But for the early favorite between them, I definitely would point to Eric Dixon. Probably the biggest standout last year from college, leading his team, Villanova, in scoring, not to mention being the all-time leading scorer at Villanova University. Definitely a true 3-level scoring option, definitely a great 3-point shooting option. A guy with good size at 6'8" or maybe 6'9" on a good day, is able to play the 4, maybe a little bit of 5 in a small ball lineup, though he definitely has work to do on defense. Or then for a different option like a Kyler Kelly, for example, the oldest option between them, the only one with actual NBA background, playing a few games with the Dallas Mavericks last year, briefly on a two-way contract, so maybe he can get back to that. Maybe he can be their third center option if you'd eventually beat out Christian Koloko. Maybe if you'd even impress more than Jackson Hayes, which I really doubt, but hey, maybe there's a pathway for him and maybe he can get that two-way contract. Though if neither of them, then maybe RJ Davis or Augustas Marciulionis. I think it definitely will be tough for them, with them already having a backcourt player under a two-way contract, that player being Chris Manning, with them having a lot of backcourt depth in general on their actual team. Definitely will be tough for them, but maybe not impossible. If they're able to stand out with their point of attack defense, their 3-point shooting, their playmaking and ball handling ability to read the defense, then maybe they could get it, and maybe from a combination of all of that too. Overall here though, between the vacant two-way contract, everyone staying healthy and remaining healthy, their starting lineup and the options they have with it, their rotation and who might be the odd man out, and then simply their new additions, I think those are some of the biggest storylines to follow and watch play out throughout training camp, and probably what JJ Redick will be watching closely too. So with all of that being said, what do you guys think? What are some of your favorite storylines to watch play out? What are you expecting from the Lakers throughout training camp, and what are you simply hoping for? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I would greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.